Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Read. My name is Jarrod King, and before I get started, I just have to say I'm sorry about this camera. I have no idea what's going on with this. When I tested it yesterday, the camera looked fine. I have an HD webcam, so it's not supposed to be so pixelated. But hopefully, our guest will be doing most of the talking. We'll see. So you'll get a better picture. So let me just dive in. Tonight's guest is a DC native with strong opinions. But his debut novel, Gorgeous, which follows four friends exploring the accuracy of their own definitions of love, shows that despite this, he knows how to look at things from different angles. He calls his book trash, while others have hailed it a treasure. But after our interview, you could be the judge. Everyone, here's Renaldo Christopher. Hey, Renaldo, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
All good, all good. I'm happy to have you here. I read your book, and I'm excited to dive into these questions. And you did have you had a few blog posts as well that kind of serve for a lot of good, topics for a conversation here. So, in a blog post titled "My Dream to Write a Bathroom Book," you mentioned that you started something called the Brown Liquor Book Club. So why did you start the book club, and what was that? What was that all about?
It was just a way for us to we all sort of like dared each other to read like some really bad urban fiction, and that's all it was in the beginning. And then after a while, for me, it became like these urban fiction writers are really prolific, and you can sit here and judge them all you want, but they're actually publishing books, and you're not. So
Okay. So there was and I think we'll get into that in a few questions as well about like your whole perspective on the urban fiction genre. Um, Now you mentioned you did a lot of starting and stopping with your book Gorgeous, but it wasn't until after a case of the shingles in spring of 2015 that you were able to finish the final draft. You say you wouldn't have ever finished it had you not gotten sick. So why the lack of dedication to this book in the beginning?
oh, I was just writing it for fun, and it was something that I would return to every few months, and it wasn't anything I took serious. But after a while, I had a friend of mine start reading it, and he kind of encouraged me to keep going with it. And then I kind of put it down again. Then I got sick, and I was sitting in the house, and my head had blown up. Like, I don't know if you saw that episode of Martin where he fought Tommy Hearns, and at the end, his head was like this. So I had
Yeah.
shingles in my head, and I looked like that. And I said, "Well, I'm not going anywhere, so I might as well finish this book." And I was able to get like a large chunk of the first draft done when I was sick. And then, once I had so much of that draft, I kind of went back through and I said, "This is really terrible," but buried beneath all of this awfulness is an actual story. And that's how I ended up starting the second draft. So
Okay. Very cool. And what have you changed about how you approach writing to succeed in your future projects?
I still don't have any discipline or work ethic. So like I kind of started pressuring myself to like write another book immediately after because I was feeling that glow of people wanting to see more stuff. But I was just like, you know what? It needs to be fun or else you're not going to do it. So I decided to like take a step back and wait for something to hit before I started writing again. So
Okay. That's cool. I mean, and that's funny because I think you're in good company as far as that is concerned. Because a lot of writers, I know for me, I have discipline once I get into a story, once I feel a story. But before that, once I'm creating ideas and stuff, it's hard for me to go day after day doing something. And
yeah,
I even had to take a step back. I don't know. I mean, like if you saw any of my stuff on Twitter or anything, me complaining about the whole writing process.
yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a whole process. Um, in the same post, you write another holdup was as much. I'm sorry. Let me back up. This is a quote. Another holdup was as much as I told myself that I'm intentionally writing trash. There's always the possibility that readers will assign to this work some redeeming social or educational value. It often comes with the territory when you're a creator who is Black or gay or both, the burden of representation. So what to you is the burden of representation?
Well, the bottom line for me is that I care more that my work is good than I do about it being important. I think there's an expectation or even a burden we put on ourselves when we write things that our work will be like part of the resistance or the discourse. And that's just not the function of my work. So I care about craft and composition and storytelling. And like, I'm almost 40 years old. I don't need to prove how woke I am. So that's just not how I approach any of my storytelling.
Okay. So you're saying like there's always this need to kind of push a message or something is what you're saying.
Yeah. But like a message that has more to do with like more of like a social political message. Now there might be some messages in my book, but they have to do a lot more with like personal growth than they do about how you're positioned in society. If you know what I'm saying, yeah.
Okay, understood. Now in this book, are you saying there is no social or educational value to reading this book?
I think there might be. Every reader's different, but for me, it wasn't a priority while I was writing it.
Okay, so basically you were just trying to tell a story, is what you're saying, and and I think that that's something that a lot of writers, especially with fiction, that's all they're really trying to do. I mean, I think, of course, some of their politics and some of their, ideas and who they are bleeds into the page, of course. But I agree with that. I think when I write, I'm trying to just tell a story. I have my little bits and pieces in there, but that's not the main goal.
Yeah, my politics are like in there, but they're not the point. I guess.
Right. I got you. So in your post titled "Hello, Gorgeous," again, you write, quote, "What I've learned most these past few months is that it's not enough to just be better than the worst. When your exposure to non-mainstream publishing comes in the form of a bar that often rests at deep sea level, it's easy to get comfortable." Now, this is one of the things that I think traditionally published authors kind of look down their nose at self-published authors about. But let me just play devil's advocate for a moment. If you could have made money from the first version of the book, why would you raise the bar for yourself?
I just don't ever want to be comfortable. I'm very critical of what I do, but not like I'm beating myself up, but I try to maintain like a healthy sense of awareness of what my talents are, and I always want to get better, and that's just really all it is. Like, I don't get comfortable just because people say your book was good. I always think of ways to make the next one even better. So
okay, so it's kind of that like an accomplishment thing for you. So I mean, I read something that you weren't really looking to make this a big business or to go into be a named author or something like that, so that was never a factor in you kind of, re-editing the book and anything like that?
That just had more to do with perfection and not wanting to have what I felt was half-assed work out there, even though it wasn't that serious, but at the same time, it's still something that represents me. So yeah, I had to just go in and do some more edits, and I changed the cover and all that stuff.
Okay, cool.
It was just a better look. It was a better look, and I think a part of the reason I wanted it to feel less like this is a project that people or friends needed to support. Like, I didn't want it to have so much of like that, do it yourself kind of. I wanted to take it to a bit more of like the next level where folks would take it more seriously and not like I'm running a lemonade stand. So
yeah, I got you. So let's talk about the book a little bit more. So what is Gorgeous about?
It's still a tough question to answer because like I was never able to like sum it up as like a elevator pitch or anything like that. But what I can say for sure is that it's about grown men who don't know who they are and who have some really incomplete ideas of what it means to be a man.
Okay. All right. So now let me go back to the previous article that I had mentioned. You say, there's another quote in there where you say, there isn't much I frankly respect about so-called urban fiction as a product. So what is it you don't respect about urban fiction?
I mean, obviously there's like a range of them. It just so happens that the ones that, we read in a group, some of them, they happen to be particularly bad. And there's just no checks and balances. Like, I get that they're like, basically they're pulp novels. Like today when you can like write these novels in one draft really quickly and get them up on Amazon, it's sort of like the same thing as like pulp novels back in the day, where people would get paid like a penny a word or something like that. So there are a lot of cases where a lot of the storytelling can be harmful in some ways, because I think a lot of the writers, they kind of reach beyond their grasp when they talk about things that are really violent or traumatic. For example, like there would be scenes of like non-consensual sex or like sexual violence, but it's never interrogated that way in the narrative. Like, I know I just read a rape scene. Do you know you just wrote a rape scene? So it's just stuff like that. Like, for example, like this one family's house burned down, and it wasn't really treated like the traumatic event that losing a home really is. They just kind of moved on and they mentioned it in a paragraph. And I think that, they're kind of approaching like these really like traumatic things with like, ooh, isn't this juicy? Instead of giving them like the gravity that they really deserve.
Okay, I understand. So do you think that that's something that's attributed to specifically to urban fiction, or would you say that that's something that could be, a more broad issue? I mean, especially in this day and age where you're able to put something up on Amazon really quickly.
I think that because we're able to put things up so quickly, we don't take enough time to make sure that we're telling our stories a certain way. When it comes to stuff like that, I just know, me being the person that I am, I like people to acknowledge when a rape happens in a book. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And
yeah.
that's just really the best I can say about it. Like to me, that's not like juicy. That's something that needs to be addressed for what it is.
Right. I understand that. You put a certain situation in there, and even if it's something that's less heavy, if it's just like, anything serious that happens to a character, you have to treat it with the proper gravity, like you said, that it deserves, in order for it to even ring true. But especially something like that, you have to give a little bit more thought than just kind of putting it in there. Now, you have a cast of Black characters in a city, and there are explicit sexual moments and language in the book that give it an urban fiction feel. So what would you say to people who would categorize your book as urban fiction?
That's cool. Like, it doesn't bother me. I still don't even know how to categorize it myself. You put it in any category you want.
Okay, so you don't have a specific category that you would put it in at all?
I don't even know if I can. Like I had to go through the process, as you know, of like tagging the book. When you put it on, and sort of like Amazon and all that stuff, you have to tag it, but it's hard to really sort of put it into like this binary of a genre. It was difficult for me. So I leave it up to the reader.
Okay, very cool. So, well, then let me ask this. If a reader was to go on Amazon, how would they find your book?
I have no idea. I don't even know if I tagged it right. Like, I don't know how many people are looking for Black gay fiction. If someone types that in, maybe they'll find it. But they might find it on like page 3 or page 4 of the search results. So I don't know. I have a friend of mine who I worked with, and he's in marketing and he's really good at SEO. So we're going to sit down and try to figure this out.
Okay, that's cool. It sounds like a plan. So let me ask you this. One of the things that I immediately noticed in the book was a focus on masculinity. Your description of every male character in this book is masculine. So just paraphrasing a couple of the quotes, you said, He appreciated conventionally masculine things. He had a masculine laugh that shook the room, etc. And it's not just your use of the word masculine, it's other descriptors as well. So why in a book with so many gay characters were they all masculine? Why not mix it up?
Mm-hmm. I think that there's definitely like some macho bullshit between two of the characters, but I think the book, just in my opinion, I think that the book observes that there is a spectrum. And like there's a spectrum in the way that, you know, Travis, for example, responds to William. And even when I talk about William appreciating conventionally masculine things, those things are elegant because William is a very elegant man. Any conversation in the book about manhood or being a man, it has more to do with maturity and principle and emotional intelligence. It's never like rooted in sort of like this negative view of things that are not masculine or femininity. I value femininity and feminine expression, including my own. And I think the way we express ourselves as men will vary, you know, depending on the audience sometimes. And, you know, someone, for example, might think Todd is less than masculine, you know, because he's proudly submissive. But I think those of us that are in the community know better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, I mean, when I read, I heard certain characters as being a little less. I didn't see all of them as being these alpha male types. I don't know. That was just my perception, and maybe that's what you were going for. That's that kind of the spectrum there. So I will say that. Let me grab my questions here because I have them sitting down, and I don't want to jump in front of the camera. Okay. So there was a deep theme of psychoanalysis at play in the book, not just between Todd and his psychologist, but a lot of analyzing of self and between friends. It was so well done that it led me to believe that you had some professional knowledge or experience. So what is your background with psychology?
I have none. No background.
Okay. So how do you think you were able to pull that off? Or, you know, where did you get that from? Did you research?
I think I'm just really into interpersonal drama, and I'm into characters picking each other apart so that, you know, we can understand who they are. And it just came from the natural process of developing the characters. That's all it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. You know, I mean, I think it's interesting because I haven't really seen that level of self-reflection in characters, and really other characters kind of looking at each other and kind of like detailing what's wrong with it, you know, that kind of thing. I thought it was very well done. I mean, because, you know, it was just different for me because I hadn't really seen that in the book, you know, kind of explicitly in the book there. Yeah. Now, a lot of people don't seek mental help when it would do them good. A few of the characters here would have benefited. And so is there a message in here about going to get help when you need it?
It's funny because in the first draft, it wasn't until like late in the second act that someone comes to Todd and is like, have you ever thought about seeing someone about what you've been through? And it just felt irresponsible for me to have a character like him who's so much in touch with his feelings and who lives in LA and who is so intelligent to not have sat on a couch and talked about what he's going through. So like Todd would go to therapy. Like it just occurred to me when I was doing the second draft, like this is someone who he would not stop. Like he would go immediately to therapy. But yeah, I think if you have the means to do it, then do it. Like there's no shame in it, obviously. Like just come on now. It's 2017. If you got a good job and you got the insurance, go sit on the couch and talk about your feelings.
Okay, understood. In a blog post, you say that Link is your most realized character. I personally would have said it would be between Julian and William. So why do you say Link?
Okay. Well, before I answer that, why do you think it's Julian and William?
Well, I say Julian because he kind of went on this journey of going back to his past boyfriends and really trying to figure out what it was about him that really kind of pissed all of them off. And William, I just saw more of a steady growth of those characters throughout the book. more so than I saw it with Link or Todd. I mean, I guess Todd grew, definitely. I mean, I guess towards the end of the book as things were revealed to him. But yeah, I think those two had a more defined path. So that's why I said those two.
Okay, the thing about Link is that he is a character that I have been writing about for a very long time. And there have been different versions of him. And it just took me a while to really hone in on who he is. And in doing that, I ended up creating a character who, for a lot of people, they said that he's very specific and very familiar and very appealing. And this has come from people who have read both drafts. And I also get like a lot of feedback on him. Well, it's kind of neck and neck between him and Julian, but it's because he's probably the most frustrating character in the book, because there's so much to like about him, and there's so much about him that seems very safe and very sexy, but you still can't necessarily trust him. And people have asked if he is based on a real person.
So he really had that impact on other people. Because it's just funny because he did not have that impact on me at all. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's just me.
He's one of those, I mean, for lack of a better phrase, he's the good dick character. So that's what people are responding to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what does that say about me? I'm going to pass on that question anyway. So you repeat.
Yeah, we'll take that offline.
What'd you say?
I said we'll take that offline.
Yeah. I have to edit that out. So you repeatedly have characters talk about different music, whether it's rap or R&B. So why is music so prevalent in the book?
It's just shorthand. It's just a way to get to know who they are, and it was a good excuse to make a Spotify playlist.
So did you listen to that while writing? I mean, I know a lot of times I listen to music while writing, so.
Yeah, I made a playlist that was like, the playlist ended up being based on things that I listened to while I was writing, and things that or artists that the characters, mentioned. And also there's like one or two, maybe even three songs that specifically like fit a scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
And any song in particular that you connected with as far as this and the book is concerned, or?
Oh, I don't know. A lot. A lot. I'm just gonna have to sing you the playlist.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? Send me the playlist, and I'll put that up in the blog post so people can have something else to kind of look at there. So let's see, where was I? What's the one thing you want readers to take away from this novel?
I wanted everyone, when they got to the big reveal, to gag. That was it.
Wait, say that you want everyone from that got to the big reveal to gag. Oh, to gag. Okay. Yes.
That's it.
Okay. All right. So you're waiting. You want that big aha moment or something. You want that. Okay.
Yeah, I think that there's something to be said for the way like a storyteller affects readers just by the way they tell stories. Like, for example, I've seen Misery probably like 100 times. And I recently read the book. For the first time, I recently read the book. And I was still stressed out by the book, which means that Stephen King is good at what he does. So if someone read what I wrote and they almost had a heart attack when they got to that point, then that means that I was good at what I did. And that's what I hope.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I hope everybody picks it up and sees what we're talking about. I would love to hear your reaction. So, let it, post it under the video here or on the blog post that I'll be posting up later. I would like to hear your reaction. So I'm sure Renaldo would like to hear them too. So what else is in the works for you?
I'm writing, but I haven't committed to one thing. It's kind of like when an artist is recording, but not necessarily working on an album. It's like that. So I'm writing things, and I have a couple stories. I have a couple tabs open. I have some notes. So whichever one of those 2 or 3 things gains traction and takes off is the one that I'll focus on for the next year.
Okay. Okay. And is it going to be, I mean, can you give us like a lane that you're kind of thinking of? I mean, are you thinking more of kind of the same genre as this book? Are you thinking about going a little bit further with any of these characters, or especially with Link as well?
I don't know. Maybe.
You know what? I would put my money on Link showing up at some point just because you love him so much. Um, but and now, does it ever get like really frustrating for you to not really just have the next idea and just start creating?
No, the problem right now is that I have too many ideas. And that's
Okay.
what I'm working through right now. I literally have like 4.
Mm.
And one of these suckers needs to get wrote. So I can just get rid of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. My thing was I had like 0 ideas after I wrote my book. I felt like after I wrote mine, I was just completely empty and it just like nothing came. So luckily, that ended like last week. So we'll see what happens. So let me ask you, like, where can people find out more about you?
Oh, well, I don't post that often on my site. I only post if something new is happening with the book, and there's nothing happening with the book right now. I have a Twitter presence, and my Twitter handle is 070180, which is my birthday. So July 1st, 1980.
I was thinking, I was like, what do these numbers mean? Thank you for explaining that. Okay, so is that where you're most active?
Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody out there wants to follow Renaldo, follow him there. I will have the link to his Twitter under in the comments below there. And Renaldo, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciated the back and forth discussion that we had. I enjoyed your book, and I wish you the best with those 4 ideas. I hope one of them gets a lot more prevalent for you, and you get that next book out there.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And before we go, I just want to let you know that if you are looking for a free book, I have one. Just go to jarrodking.com and go to subscribe. You'll see it in the banner in the top or on the side. You'll see free book. Click it, sign up for my email list, download it. You'll love it. Trust me. So thank you for watching, and you all have a good night.